Hi Cancer, this is Amanda Nardozzi. Thanks for hopping into my little plant in here. We're keeping it warm, we're keeping it cozy. Today's reading is going to be for May 13th to May 19th. So sit back, relax, drop into your heart space. Let the dust spiritually, physically, and emotionally settle around and within you so that you can determine which messages are for you and which messages are for others. We're going to pull some Oracle and Tarot here so we can get into the energies of this week. I will connect with my own spirit guides, angel team. I suggest you do the same just so you can feel the presence of the divine in this reading, so you can hear their messages through your heart. So thank you, Archangel Michael, for casting your light of protection around me at this time. Thank you, Spirit Team, Angel Guides, for connecting me with the Cancer Collective. Thank you for helping me uplift, empower. Thank you for helping them embrace their main character energy as we look into what we got going on. All right, so you have, interesting. Okay, so we have Unfinished Symphony. This card has been coming up a lot recently, just in my own readings and then in other people's readings too. So you have Unfinished Symphony, you have Follow the Leader, and we're going to dive into each of these cards with the tarot and explain things further. I'm definitely getting that like something that's been left on the back burner has maybe been steaming for a while. But this is like a passion, I wouldn't say it's a passion project. It can be a passion project for some of you, but I am getting want energy with it. So this almost seems like something that's lit the fire of your soul, something that is kind of imperative for your success moving forward. And maybe you've just kind of been sitting on it for a while. But Unfinished Symphony usually says that maybe we've I don't know, I'm hearing like we're hitting a rock or something, like with trying to, like if you're trying to bring your dreams down to reality, or if you're trying to go for a goal, there's some type of goal or ambition here that we're working towards, or some type of will or directive energy with the wands, but it's almost like we got through the inspiration and the motivation, but now we're hitting a rock. Okay, so now we're at that part where we have to do like the tedious details. We might have to pull things from the back burner to the front because it's almost like it's stuff that we'd rather not touch, like the back end work. And that's kind of what Spirit is calling you to do at this time. So let's get some tarot, specifically talking about Unfinished Symphony. What else would be, what are we talking about here? And how can we move forward with it? So some areas will require discernment. Some of these things that are left unfinished, it will require discernment because I see the Queen of Cups, and the Queen of Cups in speculation just looks at these cups and is like, looking at every single detail. So you know what careful attention she's paying to the details. And this is one of the things is the Queen of Cups is not only paying attention to detail, but also highly intuitive. So needing to rely on your intuition. I feel like intuitively you already know what to do. It's very easy when it comes to this work, I feel. Whatever you're doing, I feel like you already intuitively know what you need to be doing with it. But there is an energy of almost kind of like, like it's that final push that you kind of need in order to finish up things or start. I see like a lot of loose ends, like maybe some paperwork or just some things that you need to start doing. But it is related to Ten of Pentacles. So the Ten of Pentacles was the first to show up in tarot, and the Ten of Pentacles is about like material wealth. So again, bringing things to what? Okay, wow, that was weird. There was a fly that just got all up in the camera. Whoa. It might feel, that's so interesting. Oh my gosh. And you know what that reminded me of when I talk about things being on the back burner, things needing to be washed for like the longest time. So that was just like a fungus net because I have a ton of plants and just pests are unavoidable, right? But there was a flash in my mind of once upon a time, a very long time ago, there was sauce on a stove when I was a kid. There was a pan or like a sauce pot on the stove, and it had sauce in it. It had some type of sauce crust on the side or whatever, and I did not realize that it's been sitting there for as long as it did, just because dishes, I guess, in the house have not been touched. This is back when I was living with my family, and I moved it, and all of a sudden there was just this plume of, sorry, when you come to the internet, it's just a walking trigger warning, but there's just a plume of flies just coming up, and it was awful. I was doing shit like taking the vacuum to it. I don't know. Really hilarious story if I tell it right, but it was definitely one of those things where I was sucking the flies in through the vacuum and then they were popping out because it was one of those stand vacuums where you took the hose out and you could, like, they were flying out the bottom, so it's kind of useless. They were just like going in and flying out the other end. But anyway, that's kind of that's the image that I got, almost like something's been sitting long enough to accumulate flies, basically, to accumulate that. Milo. Shh. I see him priming for barking because he sees someone down the street. You also have the shaman. Now, this is honestly anything that you make of it. I do feel like you'll have a lot more freedom after this thing is said and done. Because the Ten of Pentacles is about bringing something to material. This is long-term abundance, long-term wealth. And again, I do feel like there are just ends to be tied up here, loose ends that need to happen. And then the shaman, it talks about almost like once these things are out of the way, you have kind of we have tons of manifesting power now, but it's almost like, you know, it's open for more opportunity to do shit you actually want to do. You know what I mean, Cancer? So get this smaller stuff out of the way. It's paying attention to those little details. That way, you can start taking inspired action towards other things and you can get to the fun stuff, right? So let's talk about this follow the leader. Follow the leader. So you may, okay. So here's where I do feel like you are measuring your success against somebody else. And I don't believe in comparison, first of all. I don't believe like comparing yourself to others and being like, oh, they're so successful. Why are they, you know, like, what are they doing that, you know, what am I, like, I'm doing the exact same thing, so why aren't I successful too? That's kind of the image that I'm getting, or the feeling that I'm getting. And, you know, part of the thing is that, you know, I think these people are important to look to for guides, so that way you can either follow their path and kind of create it as your own, and because you're carving out your own path for success. But it's almost like you don't recognize how special your path is, almost. And I know it can feel frustrating because it's almost like you're walking in place. I do feel like this little bit of like tending to the details is what's kind of holding you up a little bit. But following a leader, it's like you're comparing yourself to other people. But this can be used in a beneficial way by basically acting as a guide, you know? So following in their footsteps, seeing what they do, and then, you know, there's a reason why they got to where they are, right? It's because something that they did worked. And this is kind of that king energy that you get in the tarot of, you know, following what people have done before you to be successful. Everybody's path is going to look different, but just keep an open mind and follow many leaders and take inspiration from many leaders, make it your own. But this is a positive card that can be swung kind of both ways. You know, you want to be looking to other people for inspiration and to like learn from them and say, oh, this is how you become successful, or this is how they have become successful. It's going to be your own, but that is exactly why you should look to them for guidance, but nothing more. Just guidance, not as a strict blueprint. It is still your path, and that needs to be honored. So try not to directly compare yourself, because everybody's on their own timeline. That's the biggest thing. So look to them for guidance, not as your own personal blueprint. Okay. You also have the Chariot. So we just talked about like this strong will, strong direction. It's your choice. You decide. And the Chariot, I'm hearing like, if you will it, it can happen. If you will it, it can happen. And this is in terms of like any of your creations. If you will it, it can come to fruition. And again, the Shaman is just a very powerful card that you have sitting in Unfinished Symphony. So I feel that you really have that going for you. It's just a huge manifesting potential. And just your strict power of action and choice. The Chariot is very yang energy. And, you know, you see how, I know in the original like tarot, like the original tarot deck, in the traditional tarot, the Chariot, he doesn't have any reins, but it's almost like you see how he barely spends any effort. You know, he's holding the reins with one hand, and even in the original tarot, he doesn't have any reins at all in the Chariot card. So this is with such ease. Now, I'm not going to say that there's obviously some inner work that needs to be done if you are having trouble taking the steps towards your goals that you want, but because you choose it, because you will it, yeah, you might get some external resistance, but it's almost like it is so easy to make the choice. It is so easy to make the choice. And when you recognize how much power you do have, things become a lot easier. Because when we give our control to other things or other people, the reality is that we still hold the reins. But when we are giving our power away, we struggle to get these dragons to move in a direction. We struggle to get the universe, our signs and synchronicities lined up. We struggle to make manifestations happen because we think there are all of these limitations. And yes, you can express frustrations, but no matter what, regardless in life, you are always holding the reins. But depending on how you're perceiving external pressures and internal resistance, it can be more challenging for you to hold those reins. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying here is that when you make the choice and when you truly understand how powerful you are, when you truly understand your own influence. So even though you're following the leader, you have your own path, your own inspirations, you have your own group of people that will follow you, I'm hearing. So depending on, what your goal is, the aim that you're trying to achieve, you have your own following, or you will gain your own following, or you will have your own people who will look to you as a mentor. But once you understand that, like, your power, this chariot will be easier to steer. And I do feel like you're stepping into this of understanding your power and wielding it with ease. This is all about wielding your power. So things become easier when you recognize how much power you have, right? You also have, Page of Cups. Page of Cups, this is an exploratory card. I know knights are typically like on a mission, and I can't help but feel like there is a little bit of mission searching here. Like, you have this overarching goal, it just needs to take some form. Some of you have direct lines to get there, but you're also not sure like what the future is exactly gonna look like. The Page of Cups is, sitting in the seat of your emotion, and for a lot of you, it's branding. I don't know, like, some of you are entrepreneurs, some of you are business owners, and you don't have to be, but this is almost like, what do I want to be known for? How do I want to be seen by the world? It's almost like, what do I think of myself? That's a big thing. So what do I, like, when I don't know, this is kind of like giving me the image of somebody who is trying to brand a business or trying to come up with a look or an aesthetic of something and being like, okay, well, what speaks to my soul? How do I want to appear? How do I want to come across? And what do I view myself as? And that is sort of the energy we're vibing with here, is with the Page of Cups being, how do I feel about this? But I do feel like it's your perception of yourself and other people's perception of you. So it's trying to determine like your emotions and how to convey yourself. I'm hearing like apply this liberally, however, just in however this resonates in your life, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a brand if you're not doing like a creative thing, or if you're not doing your own business thing. Excuse me, but this does feel like trying to get the inner workings of something straight, because the page is learning and cups is intuition, it is emotions. But again, for some reason, it's talking about appearance, like the actual card itself is looking in his reflection. And I do feel like there's some type of appearance involved in this, or how do I look, or how do I want to come across? What is my mission, or what is my purpose? Like, it's almost like you're getting clear about that, right? Or it's like you're doing like a serious pep talk in the mirror. You're looking at yourself and you're like, okay, how do I want to arrive to the world? You also have Judgment. So this is stepping up, moving on, stepping up. I'm hearing like moving on. There is like a chapter that's being closed, and that actually goes straight into Snake, shedding old skin. But I do want to sit on Judgment for a little bit, because excuse me, there is a calling to step up here, especially when it's put under following the leader, when it's trying to pull the different energies out of follow the leader, so that we can talk about it with your specific energy. Judgment is stepping up. It is a call to action. I'm hearing like rising to the occasion. So this is making the moves that you need to do. And part of that does deal with, tying up loose ends. But this is also making the big moves. The moves that, it's interesting. I'm hearing the moves that you're kind of whining about. The moves that, and whether you're whining or not, it doesn't really matter. It's more like, that's like a symbol for me saying like, maybe you're just not like, there's something that you want to do, but you realize how much work goes into it. And you're wondering, maybe I want to go for more soft lifestyle. Maybe I don't want to work as hard for this. And that's fine. Certain success can be achieved without working hard. But I would say that, a lot of the success that we want challenges us. And because we as people, it's human nature to want to be challenged, not to the point of feeling like you're in a cage and suffering and, feeling beat down by the challenge, like you can't surmount it, but challenged enough to keep us stimulated, to make us feel like we're growing, so that we can like help and teach other people. Those are, I think, what people typically like at a soul level want to do, or like came here to do, is to want to be challenged enough. And at least from a productivity and from a happiness standpoint, that seems to be statistically what people want, to be challenged enough to be able to go about your day, maintain your energy levels in balance, but also be challenged enough to feel stimulated, like you're making a difference, like you're learning something, like you're growing. So that being said, be okay with stepping into that role, whatever that is for you. You can change things around. I'm getting that you have a little bit of freedom here. Like if you don't like something, you can change things around. If you took a job and you find that, oh gosh, like just as an example, if you take a job and you're like, oh gosh, like I don't really like how much, effort I have to put into this, or, oh wow, like I'm not really feeling like this is challenging me enough, move on to the next thing. It's that stepping up, it's that call to action. Just spirits like, just take the opportunity or just make the move that you feel inspired to make, and then reorganize and go from there. I do feel like some of you have flexibility or freedom in organizing things, organizing energy levels, or like I'm hearing like some of you might be holding back the energy that you could be spending. And while I think that it's important to maintain energy levels, I don't think that it's something, if you're putting your energy into the right thing, it should make you feel alive. It's like a lot of times when we put energy in, like this is when like a job or career, like a task or something, when we're putting energy into something, it gives back. So if we are doing that to the point of feeling burnt out, then we are giving too much. Or maybe we're on a path, or we're doing a task that just doesn't feel fulfilling to us. But when we're pouring stuff into something that we love, there should be somewhat of an equal exchange of feeling alive from it. That doesn't mean we work ourselves 24/7 all of the time. We need rest. There's a balance to have with that. But it should help you spark something and make you feel a little bit more alive, You have shed old skin. Shed old skin, this is stepping out of our old habits and patterns. Specifically, again, this has to do with, working. This has to do, some of you might actually be shifting into a completely different type of career, or if you're like switching industries or something. Some of this is like a career thing, Cancer, but a lot, like this could be like even one friend group to another, or like I'm hearing take your time with it. So they're not trying to rush you with this. They're like, take your time, because whatever this transition is, you're like stepping out of something old. This is, I don't know, I feel like I'm talking to somebody who has a lot of these tower moments in life where, and I do feel like people are constantly changing, but it's almost like you've been under hardcore big move changes before. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like you've done this shedding your old skin before, and you've stepped into a completely whole new identity or whole new way of doing things. You have the universe, which is basically the world in the traditional tarot. This is about having possibilities, seeing the possibilities too. You are stepping into, while you're shedding your old skin, you are shedding some of those beliefs, and you are seeing possibilities that you didn't before. So you're having more available to you because you are seeing them. They've always been available to you, but now that you're stepping into this new state of mind or a new state of being, or your whatever this change and transition is for you, you are stepping into something that you're able to see hope. You see the light at the end of the tunnel. You also have 9 of Cups. This is wish fulfillment. This is being happy. Oh gosh, like 9 of Cups is kind of like a half and half, but for whatever reason, what's being channeled through with this is like you're speaking to your heart, and it's speaking back, and you're hearing its wishes, and it's almost like your heart is now no longer wishing, it is demanding. And you are, I don't know, I feel like you're expressing yourself in a pretty amazing way. Whatever this is, you are expressing yourself. You had 2 cards that popped up. I only meant to draw 1. But the 9 of Cups is that making wishes and having that sort of wish fulfillment. But I am getting just straight up, your heart no longer wants it, it demands it. Like it wants it, yes, but it is now demanding it, and you are listening. And they're like, woo! Okay, you also have the Fool, and you have the 5 of Wands. So this is a new beginning. There might be some areas of tension at first. The Fool talks about stepping into a new chapter in life. What we just talked about was shedding old skin. This is, you don't necessarily have to be switching jobs, switching switching friend groups or switching, but this is, I feel like this is more a workings of the mind than anything, but this is shedding something. This is shedding something away, an old part of you that you've said goodbye to. It doesn't even need to be like a huge thing. Sometimes it's literally just one thing that flips the switch of recognizing, oh, I'm actually powerful and I can make these moves. When maybe you might have felt that you couldn't make those moves before. So even this slight realization, it might seem small, but it actually is a huge game changer, because you're saying yes to things that you would have otherwise not even seen for yourself. Now, the Five of Wands does offer some areas of tension, and the reason being because it's representative of internal conflict. So it might almost seem kind of challenging. I'm getting like a sense of imposter syndrome with this card. There's also this, it's, some of you could be challenging what you want. Some of you might not be sure, but here's the thing. You're not gonna know. I'm getting somebody who almost seems kind of wishy-washy, or like as they are going for their goals, they're like, do I really want this? Do I really understand what I'm going for? Do I understand what I'm really gunning for? And I feel like this is just like a natural state of your being. I feel like you're doing this a lot, or like you've done this a lot, where you move towards a goal, and even if it's your pride and joy, you're like, gosh, like, is this really something that's meant for me, or whatever? This is kind of one of those mentality states that I would advise of, you know, it kind of sounds like an overall happiness issue of not understanding how to be happy in circumstances, because there are things that you want. If you have very clear directives, like when your heart is speaking to me, it feels very clear, it feels very directive. These are the things that I want in life. But it's almost like the energy of the now almost feels like, but I can't get that because I'm me. I don't like that for you, Cancer. I don't like that at all. But it's very normal. So I understand, like, I'm reaching out to you with a compassionate heart here. Like, I understand that energy, because I embody it sometimes too, and I don't mean to. But there's a little bit of imposter syndrome here, but it's also not recognizing, a lot of this is like struggling with value and worth and understanding that you do deserve this. You do deserve the life that you're trying to get. But not only is it deserving, but it's also having faith and confidence in ourselves, our abilities, our energy levels, our motivations, and trusting that, you know, if you're somebody that's always been questioned before too, I feel like other people have questioned you, or you might be surrounded, or maybe have been in the past surrounded by people who had differing perspectives or opinions. And now it's almost like you've always questioned yourself as a result. And now that you're shedding your old skin, there's not really a lot of people around to question you, or you've like kind of like moved them out of your bubble for a second so that you can focus on you and what you're working towards. It's almost like you're kind of, what is this energy? It's like, oh, there's nobody here to question me, so I'm going to question me. And I think breaking that habit or breaking that cycle is what you are learning to do this week, or what you're working on this week, is learning not to question the things that you want, learning not to question the moves that you want to make, no matter how ridiculous they seem, because the more you make those choices for yourself, the more you learn. Whether it works out or not doesn't even matter. It might seem like it matters in the short term, but in the long term, you find out you move a little bit closer to, it's like an attitude. It's like an attitude shift towards having more confidence in yourself. And that's kind of what Spirit's coming through with. So you're having an attitude shift towards more confidence, right? A strength, heart, and challenge for this week. Okay, so what's a strength of yours is taking charge and taking action. So this is the angel of full-on yang energy, what we talked about with the Chariot. You are following in other people's footsteps, and you're carving out your own path. You're doing it, you're stylizing it to how you want it to be. But again, just watch that you're not dipping into the comparison and putting yourself down, especially with this Five of Wands inner conflict energy here. But this is a strength that you have. What's coming up from your heart, you're recognizing the blessings and abundance. It's almost like some of you are in tune and you're recognizing the spiritual grace that you're being given. Like, it's almost like you recognize the spiritual support you're surrounded by. You might be receiving more. I'm hearing like tons. So you have tons of spiritual support around you. And it's almost like you're feeling that spiritual abundance of the support, but you are also understanding how blessed you are and how much more abundance you can gain just by recognizing your own authority. Now the challenge here is keeping your composure. So some of you are kind of like maybe like I'm seeing the ground shake a little bit. So whether this be external factors, whether you're dealing with your own situation, I'm hearing like you might be breaking your neck trying to find a solution to this problem. But the challenge here is keeping your composure, because I do feel like the situation is only temporary, and that once something is decided, or once you make like a solid beeline towards the solution, then it's all done. And I think you're looking at specifics, and I think these specifics are important. especially when it comes to what you're trying to do. But I feel like this energy of composure. What's being shaken up is something kind of different. It's almost like the foundation is kind of shaken up a little bit to your life. I don't feel like it's the same thing. I mean, it might be. I'm not sure if it's the same thing as, this thing that you're trying to create or this thing that you're transitioning into, but it does feel like some type of stability is threatened here. So finding ground, keeping grounded with this, trying to find some type of composure, because this angel dude here has like the two flames in both hands. So he's put down the sword and he's not lashing out. It's almost like he's conserving his energy. So I think that is the guidance of this card. So even if, when expressed in a challenge, the guidance is to set down your sword. Try not to spend all of your energy swinging your sword around, because it's almost like you need this sword. Oh my God, I just see a hummingbird in the window and he's just hanging out. Hi. Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Okay, no, I've never seen a hummingbird around these parts, and he's just like buzzing by the window. Just, oh, that was so pretty. I've never seen one so up close before. Well, I would think of that as like a sign or synchronicity. I have a deck upstairs that's a hummingbird spirit, but hummingbirds sing their song. Hummingbirds are playful. Everybody wants to hear the song of hummingbird. And I do feel like there is a spiritual message here in relation to the throat chakra. Hummingbirds are, I don't know, I would feel like they're a highly sought after bird for like bird watching and just for listening to. Like, they're just so pleasant to listen to. You might have some throat chakra energy, or something that you're going for has something to do with like self-expression. So conserve that sword, especially when it comes to swords. That swords do handle thoughts, beliefs, quick, decisive actions are the words that we speak. So when you are conserving your words, conserving your energy for things that express yourself, and not so much as for retaliation, for beating yourself up. Well, it's almost like you need that energy for expressing yourself in ways that further this new chapter for you, that helps strengthen this 10 of Pentacles energy, this concrete material goal of, if it is a business, maybe you have some type of self-expression going on with your business, right? But you are keeping your composure in this sense. Even though I do see it as a challenge, it's almost like you're relying on kind of like your divine connection here, what's coming up from the heart. You're relying on that divine connection with spirit. You're feeling that unconditional love, and you're understanding, okay, this is what I need to remember moving forward. And I do see it kind of like, I do see it taking, like, it's taking its toll now, but I do see it simmering down. And I do feel like it's after a decision is made, or after some kinks are worked out, and then it's kind of like I just see a beeline towards something. As soon as a decision is made, there's just a beeline, or it's a straight path from here on out. With that. You also have 881. I'm pulling from Angel Numbers by Kyle Gray. You are being encouraged to take an inventory of how far you have come before you proceed further. Patience is key at this time. One more time, you are being encouraged to take an inventory of how far you have come before you proceed further. Patience is key at this time. Okay, let that be a lasting message for you, Cancer. Other than that, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe if this resonated with you. I love you, I love you, I love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.